The Aroostook War, also known as the Pork and Beans War, also known as the Lumberjack War.
In 1838, the conflict was between both military personnel and civilians.
The conflict took place between the state of Maine and the British colony of New Brunswick in modern-day Canada, so right around there.
Several British people were captured, but there were no casualties. God save the Queen! Several Canadians were injured by black bears before the start of the conflict.
The reason the war started was because the Treaty of 1783 ended the American Revolution, leaving the border between America and Canada very unclear.
Other treaties have been made clarifying borders, such as the 1794 Jay Treaty or the 1814 Treaty of Ghent. The Treaty of 1818 set the 49th parallel as the border with Canada from Rupert's Land west of the Rocky Mountains. But the area of Aroostook was still left undefined. When Maine broke away as a state in 1820 from Massachusetts, the border between Maine and Canada became a chief concern by government lawmakers.
At this time, colonists from New England and lumberjacks from Canada were moving to the same disputed area. This is my land. What are you talking about? This is my land, eh? Eh? I'm gonna call the cops. No, me.
Officials from both sides were arresting so-called trespassers.
In March 1839, British troops from Quebec reached Madawaska, the American sector of Aroostook. The Maine legislature immediately appropriated $800,000 and called for 10,000 militia men, who within a week were dispatched to Aroostook. The U.S. Congress voted for 50,000 men and $10,000, and General Winfield Scott was ordered to Augusta, Maine, by President Martin Van Buren to keep the peace. On March 21, 1839, he and the British negotiator, Sir John Harvey, arranged a truce and a joint occupancy of the territory in dispute until satisfactory settlement could be reached.
Daniel Webster was an American statesman that represented both New Hampshire and Massachusetts in Congress.
Daniel Webster was the 14th and 19th Secretary of State for the United States.
Webster organized a campaign to convince the people of Maine of the wisdom of compromise.
Baron Ashburton was a noble title given to Alexander Baring. Alexander Baring, first Baron Ashburton, was a British politician and financier.
Ashburton was the president of the Board of Trade, and he was in office from December 1834 to April of 1835.
The Webster-Ashburton Treaty was signed August 9th of 1842. The treaty finally resolved the disputes between the North American border and the Canadian border. It also redefined the Wisconsin border as well. The treaty also granted the U.S. navigation rights on the St. Johns River.
The war lasted 1 year and ended in 1839.
Most of the disputed territory went to Maine.
The aftermath of these events was that the federal government took control of all military operations.
This event was the last serious confrontation between the U.S. and the U.K.
This war was one of the most important things to take place during Martin Van Buren's presidency.
After the Revolutionary War, both nations needed more and more. Territory was being disputed, so a compromise was constituted. Maine or Canada? Where am I? Where do these borders lie? Well, thanks to Webster and the Baron of Ashburton, the territory line was made certain. Ooh, ooh, the Lumberjack War. It shook America to its core to save the peace and order. Yeah, 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 they made a border. Yeah.